Sometimes, the most terrifying tales are based in truth. Here are 10 of the scariest in film. Now that it's 2024 and, for the most part, this is a judgment-free zone, can't we admit that horror movies based on true stories are significantly scarier? When that title card pops up and tells you what you're about to watch is based on true events, the vibe of the entire film changes. Suddenly, you're imagining yourself as the main character and wondering if you would possibly survive such a nightmare. Horror films that are based on real-life events touch just about every subgenre that makes up horror: supernatural, home invasions, natural disasters, and more. There are widely popular horror movies that are true, that have been dramatized to fuel what the audience would want. The lesser-known horror movies based on real life have a certain edge to them since you're not too familiar with the story, and you have no idea what to expect. Let's take a look at 10 of the scariest horror films based on true events that you might not be too familiar with. Black Water is another movie that'll leave you weary about large and murky bodies of water. No matter how bizarre this film sounds, the important thing to remember is that it actually happened to 3 people. The moment you turn it on, you'll clock some red flags right away, such as a pregnant woman going on a boating excursion that leaves her and her husband and sister stranded in an actual swamp. As if that's not bad enough, they have to hide in a huge tree once a giant crocodile starts to terrorize them. This terrifying film that was based on the backpack murders that happened in Australia and took the lives of 9 young backpackers. 3 friends are backpacking through Wolf Creek Park before they realize that their car is broken and their watches have stopped working too. A weird man comes out of nowhere and claims that he can help them, but instead he puts them into nightmare as he sexually assaults women and crucifies man. Silent House is another tough ride that takes quite a bit of trigger warnings. Really happened between family members. It doesn't seem too far-fetched for something of this caliber to happen in real. Richard Gere and Laura Linney star in this supernatural horror movie focusing on the legendary Moth Man, a creature that was seen in the 60s in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A husband and wife are involved in a car crash after his wife spots a flying black creature, and soon after, she develops a brain tumor and passes away. Following those events, John, the husband, becomes obsessed with Mothman and his delusions start to drive him to insanity, which is quite sad when you look at it from a grief standpoint, rather than a horror lens. As John becomes more involved with the missing persons cases, you'll be eager to find out what's real and what's fake. A couple that lives and thrives in the city decides to go on a camping trip in the woods in order to get away from the hustle and bustle for a bit. Things start off tense since the couple is working through some issues as they hike along the dense forest, but they soon come to realize that they're lost and neither of them has their phones. The story gets even crazier when the couple starts to get stalked by a man-eating black bear. While this tale is based loosely on real events, the bear might not have been hungry for actual people, but instead just very sick. Home invasions are never an easy watch, especially if you've experienced anything remotely similar to the horror that is The Strangers, Prey at Night. The plot is based on a family of 4 that stay overnight at a camp owned by a family member, not knowing that a trio of murderers has also been seeking reprieve there. One by one, the members of the family are targeted, and you'll be shocked to know that the director and writer of this film pulled inspiration from his own life to fuel this movie. Not only that, but if you're familiar with the Ketty Cabin murders, you'll see similarities in that case to this film. There have been so many shark attack movies that have gone to theaters and have drawn in the crowd that's afraid of the sharp-toothed aquatic creatures. In open water, a couple gets stranded in the ocean after their boat tour leaves them behind in shark-infested water. It's a fight for survival as the couple battles not only the rough and choppy water, but also the sharks that are circling them. What this movie successfully does, in spite of other shark survival movies, is it highlights the panic and real emotions the pair go through. Most likely because this really happened and the screenwriter didn't feel the need to fill the film with things that didn't happen. Only watch open water if you're not planning a boat excursion anytime soon. This famous slasher was actually based on a series of murders that happened in Montreal, Quebec, as well as the urban legend, The Babysitter and The Man Upstairs. Black Christmas is a great slasher film where no one survives the killer, the audience on the edge of their seats only to be gutted by the time the credits roll. A sorority is celebrating the Christmas season, and while having a party, an unseen man sneaks into the house and slips into the attic. From there, you helplessly watch as more and more sorority girls are killed mercilessly while Christmas music plays in the background. If you're familiar with the Conjuring films, then you're most likely aware that each film is based on a real-life case that Ed and Lorraine Warren dealt with. Perhaps The Girl Next Door is a terrible story you'll wish wasn't true, but is sadly extremely accurate, and the film is dedicated to the victim. A young girl, Meg, is taken in by a family who's not in their right minds and end up torturing, sexually assaulting, and abusing Meg to the highest extent. A close friend of Meg tried multiple times to tell police that Meg was being severely mistreated, but you'll be devastated as you watch attempt after attempt fail. You'll have to watch until the end to see how this nightmare of a situation works out, but please look up the trigger warnings before watching.